I'm reading Socrates, right?
Yeah.
And I need to learn whether it's Nicomachean or Nicomachean.
Nicomachean, I think.
Um, he talks about the golden mean.
Mm-hmm.
So where does your lack of mediocrity could be swaying outside the mean?
I know. I
Although,
know.
there are certain things that we don't seek the meaning, and like chastity is one where there is no.
I remember you said that when we were talking about this last time, and that stuck because something about that didn't sound quite right to me. And I'm trying to put my finger on what was it that I would say to reframe the talk around chastity. Because we talked actually last time, you in your gentle dad way read me the riot act about being too harsh on men and women of my generation in the Catholic Church for being puritanical, which shuts down romance. Um, and then you said, John, where's the heart? Where's the love? Where's the relaxation in that? Which is true. I'm not a relaxed guy.
Mm-hmm.
And so that made me think, okay, chastity is one of those things that's so difficult to discuss well, because if you misinterpret what it is, you wind up puritanical and no fun. But if you discount chastity, you wind up falling right back down into the vices of our culture. And so there's a mean there, but it's not like you need less of the virtue. You need the virtue, but you need the human formation around it to make sure that you retain your personality and what I'm trying to articulate is, how do you conduct a holy Catholic flirtation?
Oh, that's great. How do you pursue women well?
Yeah. How
right?
do you?
So puritanical is not the action, though. It's the thinking behind the action.
Correct. And so chastity is...
The virtues are not thoughts. They're actions and choices. Mm-hmm. Choices that lead to actions.
Yeah.
So the puritanical is the thinking, not the doing. I think just the way you framed it, I was thinking about that. So I don't think the action is not, there's no mean in the action. Either you are chaste or you're not.
Right. There's not a halfway point.
Right. Now, Jesus went further with that, says even if you think about it.
Yeah.
Right? So,
ante.
Which is a really high bar. But let's for this conversation, let's lower the bar for a minute and just say, let's talk about virtues as actions.
Mm-hmm.
I think the puritanical thing are the things that we pile onto the thinking behind it that make it puritanical versus beautiful and temperate, right?
Mm-hmm.
Chastity is under the virtue of temperance.
So then what we're looking
it's also prudent and it's just
everything else, because all the virtues combine in their highest form into the good, the true, and the beautiful. Right?
Well, so I think about the temperance is the other, if there's 4 cardinal virtues is what I'm thinking, right? Mm-hmm. The first 3 are kind of open the door, right?
Okay.
Temperance shuts the door. It's a hinge. Cardinal means hinge, right?
Fascinating.
So temperance kind of closes the door to things that we shouldn't be doing, if you will. I like that kind of, if it's a hinge. So it, I don't know, I just think of it that way. But the puritanical, I think if we're talking about going back to chastity being the mean, I think the action is I'm still on it. I still think that there's no median there.
Yeah.
But how do we approach it? Like, how about this? The virtues are meant to help us love one another, right? If I'm not pursuing a woman chastely, I'm not loving her.
Right. Trying to get access to her body.
From my own gratification.
Which can feel like the desire is what moves a man. And that if a man pursues without desire, his pursuit dies, because his heart is removed from it. But that's really slippery to talk about, because we don't know how to desire without attempting, consciously or subconsciously, to move beyond or to set aside chastity, at least in this culture. We don't know what it is like to be passionately in pursuit without the presupposition that pursuit is going to be carnal. We don't, and that seems like a lost vocabulary set and a lost romance, really. That romance used to be separate from the sex drive.
Right.
So
was it? Or was
it? It was at least sublimated, right? So you can get, I think it was Plutarch, this Renaissance poet, spends 60 years writing enraptured poetry about a woman he saw once, that he would never see again, that he would have no sexual future with. And that makes no sense to us as moderns. because we don't know what it's like. Or the classic example is, shoot, I'm going to butcher this, Dante and it was Beatrice.
Oh, yeah.
Was it Beatrice? I should know that. And so the woman, the muse,
She was the muse.
she was his muse.
Right,
To have
right.
a muse at all makes very little sense to a modern man because he doesn't have the groundedness and the fixity of purpose to hold to that for more than a moment because we're so visual and so visual dominated now, especially in this age of social media, that to hold fixed before your mind an idea of one woman, this woman, for the rest of my life, and even to see it as a heightening of the love if it's never actually consummated. That this, and you can get into all sorts of preciousness and almost Gnostic kind of antibody stuff if you tug that thread too far. So it's not to say that the disembodiedness for its own sake is any better than overembodiedness for its own sake, right?
Golden mean.
Golden mean once again. But we have an entirely like missing eye. We can't even imagine what it would be like to pursue without carnality at the center of it. At least I don't at the moment of confession, I suppose. And so I constantly have to prune that back as I'm pursuing a woman. Like, how do I make this about the person that she is and not what she offers me, whether it's beauty or access to like her social status or what have you.
So our society has made everybody kind of, if you will, victims, which also says, what about me? Right?
Yeah.
To pursue a woman well, how do you pursue her in a way that is loving?
Mm-hmm.
Like, can we put love first?
Mm-hmm.
Love is willing the good of the other.
Mm-hmm.
And I think our society says me, 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 me. And every once in a while make an allowance for somebody else if it benefits me. Right? Like the whole idea of like even chivalry was my sacrifice for the good of others, for my community, for the woman I'm pursuing, we've just lost all of that. Like, why would I do something that's not good for me? That's stupid. Our society just screams me. I think about social media. It's me, 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 right? Where's the unnoticed sacrifice that I make for somebody else? Because there's no value in that. It's not even because I can't see it put on social media. There's no value to it
until the act is seen and commented on.
And for my betterment.
For my betterment, there's no point.
Right. Yeah.
So the torment is that if you don't compete using those tools, you're left behind. So
that's the fear. Oh, FOMO, if you want to put that in there, right? But if I turn off social media, suddenly I don't care.
But then you'd have to create a culture and a band of brothers or a village that had all agreed to drop it. Yeah. Because otherwise, it's like it's game theory, right? If I am loyal and you betray,
right? Yeah,
then
I don't know. I don't know if there's really any. I mean, I guess I'm not aware. I don't do social media. I don't. I just
good.
I don't.
Escaped.
Well, yeah, I guess maybe because of my age and because I really don't care.
You. Yeah. I don't. You're not playing the game. You don't need those tokens.
No.
Right? You're not playing that game.
I don't.
But imagine you're 25, trying to build a career.
So to play the game is to lose. Remember the war games, right? So
what was that movie from the 80s?
It was called War Games.
Oh, it was just called War Games. Okay.
I think it was called.
I don't think anyone has seen that. Probably this
computer that plays it. And finally, it escalates this on a computer, this nuclear war where everybody loses all these different scenarios, and it gets back to the computer figures out by playing all these different scenarios. The only way to win is to not to play.
That sounds good.
This guy, I think, if I remember correctly, he had it play tic-tac-toe. And realized that there's no way to win. No way to win.
Simple game.
To play. I think that's what it was, or something.
But are we going to inspire the hearts of young men by telling them not to play a game? Or is there a better game that they can only play if they don't play the social media game?
So is it, okay, so again, what's the golden mean here? Do we not play? Or do we say, okay, and I also don't want to dabble with sin. I don't want to, tip my toe into sin. But is there a golden mean where it says, okay, I'm not putting all my eggs in that basket. I've got enough. Really comes down to like this FOMO and all that crap is a lack of self-confidence, really. I don't know who I am, whose I am, what I'm here for. And so I'm getting all of those things from social media.
I don't have any inner core of confidence that left to my own devices I could find or create anything good. Like, I don't think I have the resources within to generate that life which I seek. I don't know how to make people like me. I don't know how to know what I'm aiming at. I don't know how to know if I'm getting there. I don't know who's going to have my back when I fall down. I don't know who's going to correct me when I need it. I'm alone and I'm vulnerable, which ties into that victim state that you mentioned. Everybody grasping because everybody's insecure about who am I? Where am I going? Who's going to protect me? And then is there any sort of support if I stumble? We don't have any of those things answered anymore. And I don't know. You can tell me, was that what it was like for you growing up? Was it like that then? Has it always been like this? Or has it intensified?
It's a good question. I think the basic questions that we need to answer about our lives, about ourselves, are the same. Why am I here? Who put me here? What am I here for? What am I doing with my life? And then there's all the insecurities about what am I going to do? Who am I going to love? Who am I going to marry? What's that going to do? Who's going to love me, right? But I think the narcissistic view of the world has intensified because social media holds those things up, right? And people put on social media, everybody's life, everybody's day has highs and lows. But people don't typically put their lows on social media. They put their highs. So when I go on there, it's curated. So I'm looking at social media. I'm looking at everybody's high points of the day. And I'm looking, why are these 3 low points in my day? I must be a miserable person. So I think that visibility and all that stuff has heightened people's self-awareness of their low points in a way that is kind of detrimental.
Everybody's selling. Everybody's a salesman of his own life.
Well, life is, I don't mean to say it's a car salesman, but what in life isn't selling, right? Evangelization is selling.
How do you do that?
Parenting is selling.
Everything's negotiation and sales.
Okay, you can say it negatively, or you can say that there's a proper way to parent that involves a little bit of selling. My wife teaches preschool. She uses the word seduction, not in a sexual way, but how do I trick a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old to be interested in this thing, right? How do I seduce their interest so that they then say, whoa, I want to know about that, right? That's selling.
What does she do?
She teaches the Catechism of the Good Shepherd, which is a Montessori-based method of teaching religious education to 3-year-olds, well, now toddlers, but all the way up to age 12.
How does she sell it? How does she sell them on the idea of
Well, that's just it.
Learning?
Everybody's different. So the question is what does this one child, need?
So she has to be a student of her students.
So as a Montessori teacher, your first job is observer.
Really?
Yes. You're not the sage on the stage. You're the partner standing next to a child, asking and observing. A good Montessori teacher, the kids will be working, and part of their time is sitting on a chair watching what's going on in the classroom. If children learn often by repetition. So they might go back to something they've successfully done. Well, they've successfully done item A. Okay, I've observed they've mastered this. I'm going to introduce item B to them. It's a new challenge, something new to learn. And then they'll go back. And if they learn B, then I can introduce C. I don't want to introduce F.
No.
Right?
Not the right sequence.
That's right. And I don't want them repeating A over and over again because they'll either get bored or just, they're not. So but what's the right level of challenge for John versus the right level of challenge for Andy? That all is that observer idea. So as a parent, I think
similar.
Well, again, it's all, if you want to think about it, selling has such a bad connotation, but there's a lot of really good things, right? The best salespeople I know are introverts.
No way.
Yeah. Why? Because they listen. They'll ask you a question because they want to know.
Curiosity is cultivated.
Right. If I want to know the answer, I'll ask you, and then I'll come back tomorrow and say, hey, how would you like to buy this thing that you told me yesterday you wanted, right? But if I'm just talking, I'm not hearing what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Right. So think about the way that we evangelize, right? First, you have to observe, you have to listen, you have to enter into this situation with the person that we're loving. and you find out what their needs are, and the answers are all in truth, right? Who are we? All those things that Socrates was developing years before there was real revelation from God.
Right.
He was going after truth.
Right.
And if you read it, he found it, but he called it, the ultimate good, the non-contingent.
Yes.
The good that doesn't rely on something else. Money is not the true good. It's good, but it's only good to the extent that it gets us the next thing. Well, is the next thing a good, all that stuff. He was pointing towards God, but didn't know it.
And what's fascinating is how the generations responded to him. The young loved what he had to say.
Because it was truth.
Because it was truth.
It didn't have all the
BS accumulated on top. And then what happened to him from the old?
He got killed. Yeah. Here, have a little bit to drink.
Yeah. Yep. The best drink you'll ever have.
Yeah. So, but he chose it too, though.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true. He could have run away. He could have saved his
life. To him, to who he is, and yes. So
yeah. In fact, they gave him time. They let his sentence hang over him for
hoping he would walk away.
Yes,
hoping he would
just take your life and go.
Somewhere
he was in exile, not meant to be an execution.
Yeah,
he forced them to do it.
Yep.
By refusing to run, to make the broader point.
Because he was really after truth. Well, which the beautiful thing about our Catholic faith is, I think about these classical education models, like Hillsdale College every year graduates more Catholics than they matriculate.
Yeah.
Why? Because they're teaching truth.
Yeah.
We have it.
Yeah.
Like, okay, if you don't want to teach the truth, if you don't have, don't teach Catholicism, but how about if we just go after the truth, right? Oh. Just brutally go after it. You're not in the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
That's kind of, do you know how I wound up here? Have I told you about that? Because I'm not a cradle Catholic. You know that, right? Yeah. I had a tremendous faith crisis in my 20s. And I found that when I attempted to dive back into my evangelical heritage, which I loved, I felt like I had somehow been locked out of my own house. I could see, does that make sense? I could see like all my beliefs and all of my peacefulness, my relationship with Jesus waiting for me, like a fire that was lit and a light that was on, the tea that was made.
God bless that.
I couldn't get in the front door because this desire for truth and something to be true without reference to an apologetics argument. I was asking, it was as if I was asking, hey, who am I? Where am I going? How do I know? How do I rationalize out, or in rather, to the good life? How do I think? Teach me how to think. And what the evangelical apologetics said back to me in that moment is, you have to read the Bible and then you have to look at this argument that because the disciples did not renege on their faith at the moment of death, therefore they believed it was true, therefore we can say with a 75.7% certainty that Jesus did rise from the dead. Therefore you must believe it, because if he rose from the dead, then he was true about himself being God, and therefore the revelation is going to happen. So you really need to be on the right side, and then you might want to have that squared away. And I was like, can we like back up like 20 steps?
Yeah, that was like,
you
jumped A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J.
Right, yeah, it's like they wanted to start the conversation at J instead of at A. And
let's go slow and let's take our time.
Because I did not want anyone to pull a fast one on me. I knew that everything is sales, and I knew that sometimes the very self-convinced salesman can forget to guard the.
Or if he knows starting from D to E is really weak,
he might like try to He might try to.
But if
just
you're confident in it, I'll take my time. Let's start with that.
Exactly.
Tell me when you want to go to B. We'll go there then.
Exactly. And it took me like 5 years, and it started with Jordan Peterson because he was the best person to talk about not faith but virtue.
Yeah. Well,
he started it
with
right? Truth.
Yeah, that's right.
And then like, hey, young man, what if you like end your life at the highest thing you could ever accomplish? That wouldn't be so bloody bad, would it?
Well done.
Thanks. Yeah, I like that one. It's like Kermit the Frog on acid. Yeah. But he gave hope. He gave hope through virtue, because he said to me, John, what if you aimed your life at the highest thing you could possibly envision? And what if you chose to trust that that thing was not a trick? And then what would life be like if you chose to believe that was not a trick? Well, then it would pay itself back to you. It would actually reflect meaning to you. If you offer virtue out, you will get reward back. And it was someone didn't put it in quite those words.
I was going to say, the reward back is the trick.
Huh.
Because everybody says they want to be virtuous.
Right.
Until the pretty girl walks by. Right?
Yeah.
So I still need a why.
A why that's stronger than my passions.
Yeah.
Or my desire
also,
for a reward.
Yeah. And it can't be, I think for young men, can you say, yeah, you're going to get rewarded in heaven? And they're like, yeah, I'm never going to die because
I'm immortal as far as I know.
The insurance industry gives you a car discount when you reach 25 because it takes that long for a young man to realize, hey, I might die, right?
This is why I wondered a few minutes ago, how do we sell or seduce, if you will, young men to virtue?
I think part of it is challenging them. Right?
So what?
A young man doesn't want the easy thing either, which is beautiful.
Really?
I think.
You don't think he wants the easy way out, the easy wealth? The
I think
easy
he will tend towards pleasure.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But if you hold it up to him and challenge him.
Choose this day what you will serve.
Well, maybe. Well, so in my prison ministry, we were talking about this one time. And one of the guys said, so if it's a hard choice. If you're making, let's say you're contemplating a difficult decision. Clearly you have the decision between the hard and correct and the easy and the incorrect. Because if they were both, if one was the right decision, easy, it's not a hard decision.
No brainer.
Right? And if they're both hard, it's a tough decision, but it's like you're choosing between two hard things and you're kind of equal. And so
sure,
it's really when the right one is hard and the easy one is not right. Right. And so one of my guys in prison said, well, if I've got a hard decision, I know I always have to do the harder of the two.
Oof.
Which was really, like, he said it really kind of as an offhanded, but it's really profound and correct. It's not that I'm always doing the hard thing, but it's when I see that I'm in a dilemma or I'm trying to choose between A and B, typically the harder of the two is the right one. Otherwise, I wouldn't be pondering it.
Because the decision would be so easy to make.
Yeah.
It would be a no-brainer.
The hard decision is the one I don't want to make.
Whew. How in the world do you make that sound like the good life to a man who's 25?
Yeah. Okay. So I had breakfast this morning with a priest. Who I told him about when people ask me to give these kind of talks. It's a beautiful blessing because it gives me a reason to ask everybody I respect. I have to give this talk. What do you think? Right. Yeah. And so I've had this. So he told me when he was preparing people for marriage, he'd bring the couple in and they'd be all lovey-dovey.
Of course.
And they said, okay, let's talk about your marriage. But first, let's plan your funeral. And they're like, what are you talking about? We want to get married. We're all lovey-dovey. He's like, well, okay. As an engineer, this appeals to me, right? When somebody comes with a problem, okay, what's the end you're looking for? Let's start at the end, get a really clear picture of what this idea that you have, whatever it is. Sure. I want to do this thing in business. Well, okay, let's start with the end, and then we just work backwards, right? Because people come with these ideas, they're flying all over the place, all these different things. Like, wait, okay, let's focus on the end. And everything you have to get from here to there, the clearer the end is, the clearer it is the path to get there.
If you know Z, then ABC makes a lot more sense.
Because I'm working through it, right? I don't need A minus, A prime. I'm just going, I can go there.
And it also pulls you out of victim mentality because you're focused on something outside yourself and just grasping at what you need today.
Well, yeah, I guess that's true because I have a clear goal. It has to be something I can imagine to make it attainable. It's not something that's beyond my reach. That's the victim.
But not something too easy within your grasp either. Because then there's no growth, there's no challenge, there's no...
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think anything works. Okay, so let's just, back to this example though, is, okay, you want to start your marriage. Okay, let's talk about your funeral. What do you want the end of your marriage to look like? Like your tombstone is like the loving couple mom. Yeah, you're going to be there together till the end, right? And you're going to talk about the loving relationship, the maybe the bounty of children and grandchildren that came out of the two of you and your love and kind of family you have, and what are people going to say about your marriage at your funeral? Yeah, like all those kind of things. It might be kind of morbid, but I like the idea of saying, let's start with the end and work backwards.
Yeah.
As an engineer, that's kind of what you do.
Sobers you up, doesn't it? takes you out of like the lovey-dovey planning phase of like the day and gets you into legacy.
Why are we doing this?
Why are we doing it? What's our end?
Yeah. And how do we start working on that
Now.
today?
Yeah. Which, if you think about it, is the perfect way to get a young man to care about it, because it ties his virtue, his legacy, into how his life is actually going to go. It helps if you say, hey, chastity's good. It's like, yes. And then
For somebody else.
Yeah, for somebody else.
And for my future bride, that'll be awesome.
Exactly. Yes. Lord, please make everyone around me chaste.
Who was the saint that said, Lord, make me chaste, but not yet? Is that
Yes.
Yeah.
I was just thinking of that.
Yeah,
because like, Lord, I want to let go of this, but not yet.
Not
Please, not yet, Lord.
Uh-huh.
Because the passions of the flesh were still better to him than, you know who said this well? Is C.S. Lewis, as usual. He said, we are foolish, petty creatures, unable to envision what is meant by
a vacation at sea. We continue making mud pies in the slums.
Yes. Fooling about with drink and sex and ambition, because we have no idea what is meant by the offer of eternal life.
Very good. A holiday at sea. That's right.
But is virtue really the path to get to that eternal life? Because it feels so much like an imposition and a distraction. Like I was just about to find something fun, and then the church told me no. You know, it's like a child's immature vision of his father. Dad tells me no just when I'm about to do something fun.
Yeah, Dad tells me no because he's mean and nasty.
And he has something valuable he doesn't want for me.
Mm-hmm. So that's the sin of Eve.
Yes, it is.
Right? I don't trust that he actually has my best
interest. He's not going to deliver. He's holding out on me. That's the ultimate question, isn't it? The test of virtue is, does a man actually believe God is giving him the best or holding out on him?
That's really good. That's right.
That's the question.
Okay, so we're back to why be virtuous.
Yeah.
Right? And can we trust that, because telling a young man, oh, this will get you into heaven. Well, I'm never going to die. So,
yeah. So
back to how do you, so how do you inspire
greatness
in somebody? Yeah, that has to be outside just, I want to be virtuous. There has to be, I want to be virtuous so that.
Yes. Tie it to a good he's actively already pursuing, I think. Every man wants a good life, right? Every man wants a good job, to have a good reputation, to have an attractive, loving wife, to be surrounded by children that think he's the greatest. Every man wants good things. But there's no good things to want. So
Sunday we had the reading for Sunday Mass this past Sunday. We're at the beginning of Matthew chapter 5, which is the Sermon on the Mount, right? Right? And so this is kind of what I want to talk about.
Yeah.
I changed what I was thinking about. Based on what you texted me about having this be linked to the relationship with our loving Father.
Yeah.
So the Gospel of Matthew, it starts really quick, right? The infancy narratives and all that stuff are in Luke. This is, and really the first time Jesus speaks. So he goes about, curing the demoniacs and the people who are paralyzed. Like he cured them all, it says, right? And then a crowd comes to him, and it says Jesus leads them up a mountain and then sits down to talk, to teach. Okay. So Matthew's also really clear that Jesus is the new Moses, right?
Yes.
So
the mountaintop revelation of the
Moses
law.
Goes up the mountain, gets the law, and brings it down to the people.
Yes.
Jesus brings the people up to the top of the mountain.
That is wild.
So they can hear it directly from God, right?
Yeah.
So and just that
which is what the Israelites were too terrified to do. And they begged Moses to go up so that they would not be destroyed by the thunder and the lightning around Mount Sinai.
Yeah, but Jesus, they want to go there because of Jesus.
Because they can see him as the image of God.
He is but he is the image of God.
It's about to be revealed. You're right.
Okay, so this is the first thing he really says to them that's recorded in Matthew, right? Well, this is God about to speak to these people, right? This is the God who made Mars and Pluto and the quasars and the microscopic and all this stuff. He becomes man. We celebrate him at the nativity.
Yeah.
Right. He is presented when he's newly born. He comes to age 12. He presumably becomes a carpenter or a stonemason like Joseph. Yeah. He becomes a teenager and goes through all that stuff. He becomes a 20-something and figures out what he's doing. Finally, he's 30 years old or thereabouts, and he starts working these crazy miracles, right? This is the guy who will walk on water.
Yeah.
Not just a puddle. It says he was like 3 or 4 miles out. They said if Jesus didn't believe he was God at the first mile, by mile 4, he was pretty sure, right? He stands up in a boat and calms a freaking storm by saying, Shalom.
Peace.
Bleh. Just speaks it, right?
Yeah.
That guy.
Yeah.
Okay. This is the guy who's about to lay on these people what he wants them to hear, right? So these people follow up. And what does he want to say? Do this, do that. No, he says is, if you want to be happy, blessed are they who, and there's 9 blesseds, right? If you want to be happy, he wants you to be happy. I made you. If I want to know how something's, I'm an engineer again. If I want to know how something's made, right? And what its weak points are and what its strengths are and what was the challenge in design and all this other stuff, but how it's to be used, ask the guy who made it.
Spec sheet.
Right?
Yeah.
So here it is. This is the guy who made all this stuff. And he says to us, I want you to be happy. Blessed are they who, and it goes through the list.
It's so counterintuitive, Andy. All these blesseds are reversals.
Oh, yeah.
It's brutal. Have you ever read the Sermon on the Mount like it was reading you? It crushes me every time I look at it.
I love the oxymoron of our church. You're changing gears here. You asked me.
Oh, no. I didn't mean to pull you off of that.
This is what brought me into the church.
Really?
Because I saw the hypocrisy.
Okay.
I thought it was another probably a different day. Anyway,
sure.
Let's stay focused on this.
Of course.
All right. So we talked about this on Prison on Sunday too. Every guy, every person in the world wants to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
Unless they're mentally have issues, whatever.
Of course.
But even the worst person in the world wants to be happy. One of my guys in prison is there because he shot 6 people, killed 3 of them, a child, and 2. I got, these people who the world would say might be the worst people in the world. I know them as men, and they're not, right?
Yeah.
They're sinful men like all of us in different ways. They want to be happy.
Yeah.
Right? All the guys that they know in prison who they think down on, they want to be happy. Everybody wants to be happy. It's in us. It's built in us. There's a desire for it. So Jesus, again, the God who made everything in the world finally comes, opens his mouth in Matthew and says, I know you want to be happy. Here's what you need to do. And it is contrary to everything that the world teaches.
Yeah.
So why? Why? And to dive into each one of those things, how many men want to be meek?
0. Right? Unless I don't respect them.
Right. But think about, I shared with you before a story about meeking, my friend who meeks horses.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to just to shorten it here. He wants them at full power. He doesn't want to break them. He says, I don't want to break it. I want to meek, which means they take a bit so that they'll be useful to their owner. Without the bit, all that power is useless. If they take a bit, I want all their power because now it's useful.
It's channeled.
It's channeled, but they got to take the bit. The bit is the thing about us that makes us useful to the Lord.
And what does the horse want to do with that bit right away?
Spin it.
Every time.
Right. But after a while, when he meeks the horse, he builds a trusting relationship with the horse, so he can't ever get the bit in their mouth. Right? So first there's this trusting relationship. So is this something that we can help guys to understand, that the Lord loves us and wants us to be happy? Deep, he
actually wants it.
He made us.
He's got skin in the game for our happiness.
That's what he wants. So, but
what builds that
so there's
trust?
That trust.
What builds that trust?
When the horse takes the bit, guess what? The horse is comforted because he's got a trusting owner who's got the bit in his mouth, who's going to protect him from danger, who's going to lead him to plenty of water, who's going to feed him hay and and food and oats, and all he's going to take care of him. There's this trust.
Sounds like you have to be provided for by the Lord for a time before you can take the bit. Like you have to be. This is why a man's image of his father is so important.
Oh yeah, very good.
It's because he has to be loved before he's put to work. You have to have an encounter before you are actually understanding what the game is.
Yeah.
Otherwise, the bit has no context.
That's brilliant. That's right.
So then, how do we provide these men in the arena their encounter? how do this is what the leaders ask ourselves all the time. How do we bring these men to the Father? Right? For contact, for a moment of relational encounter that's not weaponized to try to get something out of it. It's
Right.
different for each man.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
We're
why
back
it's
to
so
the Montessori
hard.
school. It's
Back
the
to the
observer
Montessori
to say,
school.
what can I observe for this
Yeah.
person that will
Leaders.
open their heart
Yeah.
enough that they can say, maybe the Lord loves me.
Mm-hmm. Leaders have to be students of their followers.
That's why the introvert's the best salesman.
Yeah.
They're more interested in what you say than what I'm thinking, than
Yeah.
what I'm saying. Right?
But then the question is, if you talk everything is negotiation, everything is sales, the gift of good facilitation, leading a small group well, is the gift of, shall we say, making the invisible love that these leaders have for their men visible in flesh. Just like Jesus makes sense of the Father because he puts it in flesh. Good, the gift of facilitating well is the gift of making virtue, 1, appealing, 2, visible, 3, attainable, and then 4, in a context of band of brothers that are going to go there with me.
So, well, you put virtue before. You know, I know you did.
May have.
You put it before
put
encounter.
It back before. Right. And I do that so often because I want everyone around me to follow me because of my fitness, to not physical, but my moral fitness. That I am an exemplar in some things, therefore you should look up to me and pursue me.
They want to know that you love them first.
And I always forget how
they'll never care how much you know until they know how much you care. That thing.
Yeah.
They've got to see. The best thing you could do is they're not going to model your behavior until they know your heart for them. Back to prison, the guy I shared with you is incarcerated because of this triple homicide. Is an unbelievably virtuous man.
Mm.
He says, I have to protect my testimony by the way I live my life.
Yeah.
Right? It has to be consistent because all the guys they know he professed himself to be a Christian, and all these guys in the prison are waiting for him to slip up.
They want him to.
Yeah, because then they're off the hook.
Then they can dismiss him.
Then they're off the hook.
Yeah.
Right? So like he shared with me recently, there was
everyone wanted Socrates to run away because then they could dismiss what he was saying.
Oh, that's good too. Yeah. I'm telling you, Socrates was a Christian before before Christ was incarnated, right? I'm telling you, when I'm reading this stuff, it's amazing.
Yeah.
So this guy I was telling you about, this guy Kevin, in prison. So there was a hubbub. He's been in prison for 31 years. He was 15 years on death row. 13 days before he was to be executed, he got commuted to life in prison. So he's still going to die in prison, just doesn't know when. Mm-hmm. Which is in a way is a harder sentence. But anyway, so he's been off death row now for 15 or 16 years. So 31 years in prison. He's been there a long time. There's a hubbub in the chapel. He calls them babies, but it's the young guys in prison who have kind of like normalized their lives.
Yeah.
He's one of the OGs, right? He's like, there's a hubbub. And so instead of like going in there and forcing his will, he just went over and sat down at the table and said, I'm going to remove myself from that and I'll eat lunch 45 minutes from now. I'm hungry. I'd like to eat. I deserve to eat. Food's right there. But he just picks himself up, walks away, sits down, puts his hands on his lap and sits patiently waiting for all that crap over there to settle down. And then he'll go get his food.
He's free.
He's free. Instead of getting all angsty and emotional and getting he calls them babies. Let those babies screw up his life. He says, I'm a waitologist. I wait. That's what I do. Right? How beautiful is that? But he's purposely sitting there for, I think he said 45 minutes or, something like that. We just waited for that to all pass.
One of the hardest things for a young man to be is patient. Everything's got to be right now.
And me. I deserve this.
Yeah. Got to get mine.
But him stepping away didn't make him a victim, did it?
No.
He preserved his dignity, his testimony, his honor.
Right.
He was above it by stepping away from it and saying, right?
It reminds me of how Jesus often withdrew from the crowd to desolate places to pray. I actually read this yesterday in The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. Good book.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I got that one.
It's a good one.
Uh-huh.
Comer says that Jesus was baptized and then immediately driven out into the desert and then tempted after 40 days of fasting. And he thought for a long time that it was an evidence of Satan not fighting fair, that he attacked Jesus when he was down after 40 days of being hungry, fasting. What he said flipped the script for him was realizing that Jesus was essentially going into 40 days of training, conditioning, tip-top shape, peak performance. Jesus, after 40 days and 40 nights of fasting, is actually Jesus at his strongest.
Which is when he comes out and preaches the Sermon on the Mount.
Wow. Comes right back out of the desert. And
well,
says,
not directly in there, but yeah. So, I mean, the Gospel of Matthew.
It's Matthew 4, desert. Matthew 5, Sermon on the Mount. Crazy.
Desert lowest, right?
Yeah.
Up to the highest.
But first comes his encounter with the Father in the Jordan River. That is, he plays all this out for us. He didn't need it, but in God's mercy, he showed us the pattern. He allowed it for now, and that he showed us how to begin our own story with God the Father. It begins with a moment of the Holy Spirit descending upon you and renewing you, which we experience sacramentally in our baptism, cradle Catholics at birth. Mm-hmm. But you must take ownership of it, and you must have an encounter in your later life that allows you to see the purpose of it. Brad Piron has a lot of good pithy one-liners. One of his best is there's two most important days in a Catholic man's life.
When you're born and when you figure out why.
Exactly. Yeah. He says when you're baptized and when you figure out why.
Yeah.
He flips it just a little bit.
Yeah, I like that.
And so only once that encounter has been had can a man be introduced fully to the life of virtue. Because, as you say, only once the horse has a relationship with the trainer can he accept the bit.
Trust. How do you do that?
How do you build trust? What Andrew Keebe likes to say is that three things bind men together: mission, misery, and margins.
Margins? What are you about? What are margins?
Wasted time.
Oh.
You know who's really good at this? It's Tim Hughes.
Really?
I miss when Tim had that, I think it's called the Oklahoma Joe smoker. He had a smoker that was cheap, but it required...
take forever.
Yes. Which builds in what? Time with guys. Because you got to be up until 2 a.m. babysitting that brisket. What do you think is more important? The brisket for the big event tomorrow or the conversation that you're having with those two dudes?
It's so true.
It's so brilliant. And my engineer brain, I'm an engineer too. I spent 10 years.
Like, how do we
now, industrialize, systematize, factoryize. You know, everything is, social media is like it's like the dehumanizing factory of the human experience. Because the goal is I'm going to use you to parasitically extract stories that other people are going to want to look at. And if you can't produce those, you're nothing to me.
Wow.
It's the parasitization and the trivialization of the personal, because it forces you to be a machine of stories. It puts you to work on the treadmill. Even your personal life and your hobbies are now being mined for attention.
Oh, that's
it's wringing you out.
Insidious.
It's disgusting.
So brilliant. That's a great perception.
It's the Matrix. We're all plugged into the Matrix. We just think we aren't because we can put it down. But the phone has us.
So when I asked Father Keller about this talk, we got to talking about all kinds of things. One of the things he said is, we need to learn to be bored.
Amen.
Allow ourselves to become bored, because then we're going to, that's what I was thinking about. Then your brain starts thinking about these deeper things.
Yeah.
Right. But if constantly entertained, you constantly brought back to these surface level things, we never get to ask the second question that Brad Piron asks.
Right? Why was I baptized?
Yeah. So the whole idea of boredom is now like rattling around in my brain, because I'm really good at not being bored.
Me too.
I tell people I don't rest by resting.
No.
Right? I'm always
gotta rest by doing something else, because otherwise you might be bored.
And I can always get one more thing done. I'm late because I'm always, I get one more thing done.
Boredom to me feels like death. It feels as terrifying as not existing. I've always resisted boredom.
Wow.
Just because I want to be constantly engaged, constantly stimulated, constantly moving. Not even because I'm running even from anything internally. I just hate the feeling of motionlessness. I don't see it as a gift. I see it as a curse. I want constant agitated motion. But you can't be virtuous Because again, the golden mean is in the middle between motion and rest. The virtuous man knows how to be at peace and at work at the same time. The life of heaven is the life of God's pure being, resulting in his perfect action with no gap in between. To him, work and rest are just two sides of the same reality. He didn't need the Sabbath.
Right.
But he chose to show us, here's how to enter into my rest.
So you mentioned this is the dichotomy
Mm-hmm.
that you started talking about before with the Beatitudes, right?
The paradox.
Blessed are those who mourn.
Blessed are those who are not blessed.
Right.
Okay.
Well, there's more dichotomy buried in that, right? So, our second oldest daughter passed away. Actually, like 6 blocks from me. She was had a senior year at high state, had a seizure, and just boom, gone, right? So just deep, bitter grief, right? That still lives in us. But so I understand my mourning. I know there's lots of different ways that people mourn. But I understand like that. In that year, I heard the Lord tell me to preach joy. Which taught me that joy is a choice, not an emotion.
Wow.
The emotion of joy is not what he was going after. He was choosing me to choose to be joyful. So how do you express joy when you're wondering if you're ever going to run out of tears?
I don't know.
Right? But that, to me, was a gift. Because I realized that grief did not remove the joy that was in me. And that I could live it. And actually, I think I'm a better preacher of joy when I'm crying than when I'm laughing. So that dichotomy is real. So is this somehow helpful to us, wondering how do we inspire young men to understand the relationship that God already has with them, that they need to either open the door or you can just open it a crack and God will slip in. But how do we get them to do that?
You have to hear the Father's blessing. Making me tear up because I'm remembering a verse that my dad chose for me before I was born. I was due for a C-section because I was breech.
Oh yeah,
in the womb. And when they showed up,
you've always landed feet first.
Yeah. when they showed up for the surgery, they checked again, and God had flipped me. And so Dad chose my life verse, which was speaking about the birth of John the Baptist. Everyone wondered, who will this child be, for the hand of the Lord was with him. Something like that, paraphrasing. And he told me, that's what I chose for you. Before you were born, I chose that verse for you. And so now when I read the things of God, when I read the scriptures, which he still encourages me to do, I can hear the benediction of my Father behind me and around me. And so I associate these truths of God, these calls to virtue, with the relationship he had with me before I was born. And so which allows reading the scripture and walking with other men to feel less like an invention and more like my inheritance. And so he wove me into, my dad told me how he wove the scriptures into my story and wove me into the story of the scriptures. And so there was this memory, this embeddedness, this context that was made for me by my father, who told me where I fit in this story. And so I was able to, once Jordan Peterson and then Jonathan Peugeot gave me my mind back and my faith back in my 20s and early 30s, I knew the context into which I was being welcomed, that I had a mission, that my identity carried with it an implication of mission. Just like Jesus' baptism carried with it an implication of mission, which he expressed first by going out to the desert. I knew who my father was. I knew what my father was like. I knew the kind of man my father wanted me to be. And I knew, therefore, what kinds of things I should do in the world. And I knew, most importantly, that I could quit my engineering job without losing my dad's approval, without losing my dad's favor, because I knew that his favor was not conditional. And that trust allowed me to take a different bit,
It's the same bit.
But I can't give every man the father I had a dad in a million.
Yeah. What a blessing that is.
The older I get, the more blessed I feel because of it.
It's a great question. How do you? Well, so I'm thinking now. I think Kibi's got it right. You're going to waste a lot of time. Okay, back to selling. Selling's a huge waste of time.
Yeah.
Back in the day, in sales funnels, I got to talk to 100 people.
Yeah.
So that 10 will return my call.
Yeah.
So that 2 will consider a contract. So that 1 will close.
Yeah.
All that time, other than that 1 of the 100, 99 was wasted time.
Yeah.
Right?
If only you could know which ones were wasted time ahead of time.
Well, so it's not wasting your time on 100, but the idea is you're going to waste a lot of time.
Yeah.
Right? Waste.
Yeah, waste,
right? So wasting time. Unfortunately, a lot of young men haven't suffered enough yet.
Oof. You were only given your full identity as a communicator and a preacher of joy after you'd been put in the crucible of your own suffering.
Wow, I hadn't thought about it that way.
But what a weighty thing to know is, like, every man will have his crucible.
Somebody told me once, we come along the easy. God brings us along the easiest way we'll come.
Wow.
Right? And I just think God blessed me by getting my attention this way. He didn't do it that way, but that's how it happened.
He chose to use it.
Father Adam Streitberger says, never let a good catastrophe go to waste.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
crisis reveals a man's heart and his motives in his life to himself.
It's the most important person for figure out. Make that understanding.
Yeah. So much of what we're doing is just giving men a relational context in which to figure these things out. Because that's all a small group is. A place to tell the truth, a place to be seen, a place to be known. And then God does the work.
Yeah. So just think about this. You got, 100 dudes coming to your thing?
Yeah.
There are 100 dudes who've at least, I don't know where they are, right?
They vary.
Right. They're all of them. But let's say I don't know if you can even rank them this way, but the guy who's least likely to take the bet.
Yeah. Right? Least convinced of the whole ball game.
The whole ball game is in the room.
Yeah.
There's something.
Something once. Even if it's just the food and the beer.
Okay. Right? There's something. Every man wants to be happy.
Yeah.
And he, like Ecclesiastes, go ahead, try all these things. Go try power and money and sex and go ahead, try it all. Go ahead. And then come back and see me. Right?
Yeah.
So maybe he's had enough suffering. He's like, well, I'll give this a try. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. There's a blessing in that. But so the question maybe isn't, how do I get them to go from not being in the room to being in the room? That's a separate question.
Sure.
That might be just pizza and beer.
Yeah, it might be.
That's fine.
Might be that simple.
Right? But now you've got somebody in the room. So it's not a matter of, maybe it's the door might be unlocked. It's just, how do I prop the door open?
Exactly. Where's the door stop?
What's the next?
The next thing he can see. Where's B, not G?
Right.
A is in the room. How do you move him from B to C? And that the best thing we found is invitation to man's, every man desires greatness. Every man desires adventure. The best thing we found is offering him those things through a band of brothers. That's why small groups.
So would you say Kibi's 3 things?
Mission, misery, margins.
So that's
hopefully all 3 are found in the small group.
Small group, yeah.
But the hardest thing that we're noticing now with the guys that are faithful to the arena is getting them out of the mentality of Americanism, because they know program. I know what to do with the program. Program, go here. I go program now. And then I go home. I go on my phone. Program over.
Yeah.
It's like, that's all done. See you next mass.
That might be F.
Might be F. But yeah, guys, we're taking a big fat sledgehammer to these silos that exist in your life.
Yeah. Because if I keep it over here, I get to keep doing it.
And then, exactly, I get to have virtue box and then vice box. And then you don't get to know what I'm doing when I'm not here. I just get to show you my church face.
Vice always looks so attractive, which is interesting. Okay, back to our dichotomy.
Yeah.
Vice looks beautiful. Blessed are those who mourn,
I know.
right?
I know.
So it's that opposite piece.
I know.
How about this? One of the Beatitudes is, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness.
They will
right?
be
Satisfied. Okay. So again, in prison, we were talking about what it means to hunger and thirst. Like, have you ever really been thirsty?
Yes.
Like dying of thirst.
Yes.
Right? You went on a hike and like an hour into this 4-hour hike in the desert, you ran out of water.
I grew up in the desert.
Yeah. So you're like, all you can think of, your head hurts, right? Your body starts to come down. Your stomach starts to hurt, right?
You hear the buzz of heat in the background.
Yeah, your joints start to not work as well,
yeah.
right? Like, and you get that first sip of water, and it's like the best, right? But what does it mean to crave righteousness like that? All right, blessed are those not who are righteous,
but who want it,
who every ounce of their being
demands it.
Yeah,
and that, oh man, that's next door to the kingdom of God, and it's so hard to know how to get a young man there until he's had intense pain.
Okay, so my point though is that doesn't sound attractive.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't sound as attractive as pulling up porn on my computer.
Really
right? Like, blessed are those who pull up porn on their computer. That's easy, right? But it's this dichotomy. Blessed are they who fill in the blank. It doesn't look great, but once you look back on it, like, I realized, so my daughter died 10 years ago. It was probably not even a year ago, where I realized if I could snap my fingers, I wouldn't want her back.
Mm.
Like, I want her where she is, right? My mother-in-law lost her husband, and she said, I wouldn't deny my husband a day in heaven, but I miss him.
Wow.
Right? That's what I finally realized. I wouldn't deny her heaven, but I miss her. And both of those things can be true. Right?
Yeah, of course.
But it's that, until I realized that, I didn't understand, blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. The mourning is coming. It's in the world, right?
Yeah. Can't avoid it.
Right.
Not an option. Right.
But the blessings that have come in my life, and Katie's in heaven.
Yeah.
It is, everything's backwards. And I love that about our faith.
It's so confusing at first. It's so confusing. And it's confusing later on too.
Well, but I think a lot of young men are pushed away. Like my guy in prison who says, I have to protect my testimony. Guys have their antenna is up for hypocrisy.
The fast one.
Well, hypocrisy first. Like, if I can catch you being a hypocrite, I get to go and I can turn my porn back on.
Deals off.
In my sin.
Deals off.
Yeah, that's right. Right? Which is why it is important that you're striving as a leader here, setting yourself up as a leader. Huge responsibility.
You got to protect you.
Yeah, because God's actually coming after you, because if he gets you, he gets all 100 dudes in that room.
Yeah.
Right? That's the challenge.
Target on back.
Right?
Yeah.
They'll go after dad, because if I get dad, I get the whole family.
All of them.
Right?
What's that stat? If a wife goes to church, you got what, 50% chance of keeping the kids?
Yeah,
I don't know what it is. If dad goes to church,
way
90.
Yeah.
So yes, you must put on virtue to defend your testimony, to protect that and those whom God has entrusted to you. And I think some of the call of virtue is a call to greatness. Virtue is what gives you the structure to support the weight of the greatness that God wants to put on you, because there's going to be spiritual and physical dependence. Those who are dependent on you, those will come along. Your physical children, your spiritual children, your economic children. Yeah. You remember running a company and what that was like. You have to be able to bear the weight. Virtue is what works you out until your spiritual muscles can bear the weight of glory. Another C.S. Lewis quote, The Weight of Glory, good book. And with that virtue in place, you're trustworthy. And you can be entrusted with, you're the servant that was given 5 talents that made 5 more that Christ can put in charge of 10 cities.
Yeah.
Without it, you got nothing. You're not reliable. And so the motivation is, think of how glorious and great, how much of a king God wants you to be, that you are meant to rule and reign and judge angels. That's the destiny of the fullness of the glory of the sons of God, that the world will be full of the kingdom and the power of the kingdom when that truth hidden right now in jars of clay, treasure hidden in jars of clay. That's us, the spirit hidden in these fleshly temples. But when that greatness is revealed, when the crowns that now exist invisibly are made visible, well, then you're a saint, right? When the halo is visible, that's just a sign that the glow of the spirit within you has crowned you. And
That's so far away.
It's so far away
still
from most. But if we can bring it a step closer, your talk about virtue is just making the far off visible. Like how Christ on the mountain was able to make the greatness visible and drew people up to meet God.
I can't. Okay, so if I'm one of these guys, I'm looking around and thinking, I can't do all this. Right? Be perfect as your heavenly Father's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
No way I'm out.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Too much.
So the beautiful thing about virtue is I can pick one and it seems like I can pursue it.
You can pick off a piece of it.
And it gives me something to do. And once it might get me from A to B.
Yeah.
Right?
Maybe courage has a particular draw on my personality.
What is the one thing that I really think I want to go after?
Happiness.
Okay. Well, so let's break happiness down. Let's talk about these 4 cardinal virtues, all the sister virtues, which are awesome, by the way.
Yeah.
Like the fact that humility falls under justice to me is awesome. Right?
Wow.
I just it tells me how humility works. It's just it's true.
It's a fittingness.
Yeah, it's just beautiful, right?
Yeah.
So, but which one of those is attracted to me? Oh, I actually want, for other things in my life, I want to pursue humility, prudence. I pick one, right?
Yeah.
What's the one that most of it? Let's talk about that with you.
Yeah.
And my brothers, I want to pursue this. Help me do this. How can I do this? Right?
Yeah.
And hold me accountable to this.
Yeah.
And guess what? A month from now, I'm going to fake it till I make it. All those things. But I will be, and now tomorrow I might be ready to tackle chastity.
Yeah.
Or whatever,
Yeah.
But it gives me things like you were just talking about this grandeur,
mm-hmm.
which seems outside my reach.
Mm-hmm.
But virtue gives me something that I can see. Put my finger on.
Virtue lowers the ladder.
But it is a ladder, right?
Yeah. But
it is the ladder.
It shows you the rung you can reach now.
That's right.
It's just within your limit of reach. And then you can pull yourself up to the next one.
And maybe I can reach something else.
Yeah.
But the pursuit, but I'll never get there too, but don't tell them that.
Yeah. Stop listening now.
But the pursuit, we're called to pursue.
Right.
I don't know anybody. Maybe saints arrive, but I think saints are still sinful people, right?
Saints have just discovered the mystery of falling upward.
They've overcome their
gravitational pull.
Yeah.
They're falling up the ladder, not down.
Lots of ways to call it. Yeah, but they were still sinful people.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but even their mistakes accelerated them closer to God. They had found what did St. Paul say? I have found the secret of being content in every situation. I can do all things through him who gives me strength, which is what athletes usually claim if they're trying to be Christian sounding. But it's a much deeper meaning than that. It means, no, guys, actually, I am content and complete. The context Paul was writing in was, no matter how much money you send me in prison, no matter whether or not I get to eat tomorrow because I'm taken care of or forgotten, I'm content because everything is greatness to me. Everything is God's gift to me. Everything belongs to me. Every suffering can be transmuted and reconfigured into glory. And so that's what I mean by falling upwards, that even that the tug on the man's heart, which the fallen man makes him vicious and contemptuous, looks like loss.
Yeah.
Look, it comes disguised as grief and loss and evil. It's the cross. This is the cross, that after death comes glory. And so virtue reveals, given its end, virtue reveals the one who made virtue, the one who is virtue. And so Plato, in the Republic, ends with, if only we had a perfect image of a virtuous man to show us what it looked like.
Oh, yeah. See?
Crazy setup.
Right? I'm telling you.
And so the glory of this is that we could talk about this for the next 6 hours and circle the same things in different words and get something new each time. But I think what I'd like to leave with is this is not an invitation to a static demand. This is an invitation to a dynamic process and journey.
Yeah.
And that there's glory in the process of becoming glorious.
Right.
And that is actually compelling once you're in it. So please trust us, young men, enough to enter into the flow enter into the river. You must walk into the river. But you have to, your job, which is a hard job, is to build trust with the room in those few minutes of talk, enough to woo them into the stream with you. They have to want something about your life and about who you are and who you seem to be. They have to want it enough based on what you offer, what you seem to be, that
So
they
maybe
want
to
to be.
consider it.
Pursue me as I pursue Christ. That's the testimony. Virtue guards testimony.